Normalcy has been restored as Chennai beats Sunrisers at Chepauk and by 78 runs, and this means that they jumped to third spot from the sixth spot. And it's a bit of a muddle in the middle, and it keeps expanding with every game. A lot of teams on 10 points. So, what did you think about that match? And Chennai doing just Chennai things, right?
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, they had a bit of a, slip up a couple of matches back, and then they found their groove again. I think it's very important for them. Usually, Chennai aim to win all matches that they play at the Chepauk.
Yeah.
This time they've had a bit of a setback, but they've got back to their winning ways. I think more importantly, the form of guys like Ruturaj Gaikwad, Shivam Dubey, which has sustained them so far, has been complemented by somebody like a Daryl Mitchell also coming in with a half century. The bowlers have done extremely well so far from what we've seen. And the only thing they need to guard against is that somebody like Mustafizur is going to go and play for Bangladesh very soon. So he may not be there towards the latter half of the season, IPL season, which means they have to start thinking again very quickly. And in the bowling, I still feel that they need more wickets from somebody like a Ravindra Jadeja. I'm also surprised that Shivam Dubey, has he bowled at all this season? I can't recall him even bowling a single over.
Yeah, he has. So moving on to the other team, I'll keep this short and simple. Have you seen the Sunrisers batters look so hapless in this tournament before?
Yeah, I mean, are they running out of steam now? That's the big question, because they've worked extremely well so far. They've been the most exciting, exhilarating team because of their top 4 or 5 batsmen. And then after that it kind of tapers off. They've got Abdul Samad and Pat Cummins, but they're not of the Travis Head, Heinrich Klaasen, Aiden Markram, who I think needs to step up a bit in terms of the number of runs as well as the strike rate. I would say is something that Markram needs to work on. We've seen in previous seasons that he can do it extremely well. Abhishek Sharma, Travis Head. I think between the two of them, if one doesn't succeed big time, then the team struggles a bit, because then too much comes on. If both of them are dismissed cheaply, then the whole onus comes on Klaasen, and it becomes a little too much for them to manage it every time. I think that's beginning to show. So the success for any team in the IPL or in any of these leagues is consistency, sustainability. So, after starting off in such thrilling fashion, it seems to be catching up. Other teams are catching up with Sunrisers Hyderabad's methods, especially their batsmen, and that could be it could have a strong bearing on where this team is headed now in the next week or 10 days.
Yeah. So we go to the match before that, and RCB chased down 216 overs with 4 overs to spare. Will Jacks hit a 40-ball 100, and he was ably assisted by Kohli. So, do their fans start to dream again?
Well, it's a long shot for them to make it to the playoffs, because they're still languishing at the bottom of the table in number 10 position with half the tournament gone. It's they have to win everything on the trot from here virtually. Yeah. So it's not impossible, but it's improbable, I would say. But they've got some pluses. They've got Virat Kohli, first man to be scoring 500 runs this season. He's done it in the past, but the consistency of the guy. I mean, his strike rate has come under scrutiny. It's a shade below 150, which is actually very good, for considering that he's making runs almost every time he walks out to bat. And what they've been missing is somebody to play around Kohli. Somebody like what Will Jacks has done in the last match. Sensational knock. Before that, Cameron Green in one of the matches, and one of the matches, Faf du Plessis, but not many of them. Yes, Dinesh Karthik has been doing his thing, but very late in the order. So I think RCB's biggest problem has been, of course, getting enough big totals, because now 200 is par for the course, and also having the bowlers to kind of defend 210, 215. That has also been kind of lacking. So can they do it? Can they win all matches from here and get into the playoffs? As I mentioned, long shot.
Yeah. So you were talking about Kohli's strike rate, and he did have a bit of a word with the commentators after the match. And this is just going to be a never-ending discussion, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think, I can understand his peeve, because he's getting picked out, and, kind of, so the focus is almost entirely on him. I mean, he could have a higher strike rate. I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. If instead of 147, 148, which is his current strike rate, if it goes up to 155, 160, but his number of runs comes down, Does it help RCB's cause? I think it's the role definition that he enjoys or that he has in the team that is important. He's one of those. I assume that he's the guy who's asked to bat through. You know, bat through the 20 overs. He's opening the innings and his attempt is to bat through now, which means that the others who play around him have to be putting up those strike rates of 170, 180. Otherwise, the objective is not met. If that objective is not met, then the criticism transfers to Virat, which I think is a little unfair. So I think he's a little miffed. And the other way of looking at Anirudh is if you look at T20 World Cups that have been played since 2007. I mean, he was not there then, but subsequently after he's been playing, if you look at India's better or the best performers who in all the T20 World Cups, he would figure in the top 2 or 3 in every tournament virtually.
Yeah, and adding to that, I think this is a false sense of security. I don't know. It seems to be sort of a mirage that 200, 250 is not enough this season. But the pitches in the Caribbean and in the US, we don't even. I think they're dropping pitches. We don't know how they'll behave, and they might need someone like a Kohli to like stabilize the ship or see through the innings. So we never know.
Yeah, I think the experience matters. We saw that in the last T20 World Cup. That knock against Pakistan, which is unforgettable. I mean, it's because he was Kohli. He's got 10, 12 years of experience behind him. He's got, a terrific mindset. He's got so mentally tough. And it's not just about throwing your bat and everything and caution to the winds. Remember, I think IPL also one thing we must put into perspective, which I think most people lose sight of. This is the tournament which has 7 Indian players have to play in each match. Some of them would not make it to the World T20 team, So there is a certain, I won't say shallowness or weakness, but obviously there are things that are achievable in the IPL which is not possible necessarily in the World T20. And that's where the mettle and experience of players, the caliber and the class comes through or becomes important. It does not mean that you play a pedestrian game, but it means that, you can't just say that the guy is who's been around for so long and has been making runs so consistently, why has he not exceeded everybody else in the IPL? Therefore, his form has dipped. I don't think that logic is true.
Yeah, fair enough. And as I was saying earlier, there is that ever-expanding muddle in the middle. You saw with the CSK game, they jumped 3 places. And a lot of teams stuck on 10 points. And it's a very interesting part of the tournament. And we'll keep bringing you the updates as and when they happen. So yeah, that's it for this episode of So Soon. We'll see you next time.